Introduction to La Trama, The Unbearable Heaviness of Emptiness, by Anthony Francesco Bentavegna. An inconsequential heavy silence, absolutely distant from the human being, full of absence. An absence that arose in the vain attempt not to hurt, not to kill. What is the deafening void if not the achromaticity of a canvas in which the white begs with a hissing tone to be able to emerge from the darkness? What flavor, similar to a crushing embrace in which black dominates, shattering grain after grain, the need to communicate the arcane truth? Only those who carry the weight of emptiness can feel the ponderousness of a veiled voice or a silent scream, a harsh, shrill, and strangled scream, which settles like a large boulder in one's chest and often reduces one's breathing moment after moment. The more the void propagates, the larger it becomes, the denser the plot becomes. Threads overlap, brush strokes are stratified, material accumulates, generating a tangle so tangled and incomprehensible that it is impossible to decode. We need to take a step, maybe two. It is an impassable dark space which changes its boundaries. Only by stepping on the shards and splinters scattered in the muddy ground can one reach those walls where now illegible inscriptions are engraved. Emptiness, which Nadia De Giorgio perceives as destruction, as the dissonance of a feeling altered by a changing plot, woven by a trickster, who step by step cancels, dismantles, and alters every phase of the story. The author, through a raw, angular, and branched material, reassembles the various fragments of the plot in a bubbling composition full of lacerations, striations, craters, and furrows, pouring them onto a surface in which silence is filled by an iron will to affirm one's being, using monochromes and two-tones to achieve an imperfect completeness. A language that uses extremes, opposites to arrive at a formal imbalance in which disappointment arises for man's brittle resolve. An ambiguous, hermetic figure background relationship, which often makes the former subordinate to the latter in a continuous play of forces and power. All the emotions elaborated in the moment of realization are regurgitated onto the support in the most acidic, most concentrated, most visceral way, with the attempt to find a stage of vague serenity in the chaos of an intuitive feeling. In her works, there is a recomposition, layer after layer, of an historical chrono-scaffolding in which red, black, and white merge to become a liquid that extends throughout all possible space, contrasted only by the elements that block the spontaneous spread. Nadia De Giorgio explored the dark depths of the human soul, transforming the anguish and wounds of the unsaid into a tangible vision on canvas. The color invades the space, transforming into a cry of frustration and desperation, in a silent denunciation of a pain longing to be revealed. Layer after layer, the author discovers the blinding white, which emerges from the stalactitic black mantle like an ode to suffering, caused by an immoral and prehistoric social experiment in which survival becomes an invisible blade held by a placed executioner in a different astral plane. The symbolic tones intertwine, mix, and confuse themselves in an intricate narrative undergrowth, which reveals an infected social wound, highlighting its most senseless mechanisms, empty chatter, slander, and the concealment of misdeeds, so as not to contravene the law of silence, the law of self-preservation, and the law of survival.